Welcome to the Never Yield podcast. Today is Tuesday, January 13th, and on today's pod, we will react to the Hogs getting spanked in Auburn on Saturday. We'll talk about what they need to do to bounce back and get a big win against South Carolina in the bud on Wednesday. We'll give all the latest transfer portal news as usual as the Hogs put their finishing touches on what their 2026 football roster will look like. And we'll go around the country with NFL playoffs, college football national championship game on deck, and much more. Andrew moved to his new house this weekend, and the internet man was supposed to come out today. And as usual, that did not happen. So Andrew is internetless in his new house. We have a very, very special guest host today, Sir Rob Branscombe, pride of Marshall, Arkansas, Searcy County's finest. I guess you could say that I was Rob's boss for 5 years of his life. And since then, just become really good friends and buddies. Rob, welcome to the pod, brother. Give the audience a little bit of background about you and your fandom and kind of why you're passionate about the Razorbacks.
Sure. Well, Coach, I appreciate the introduction. I will be referring to you as Coach, as that 5 years is still. I apply the same principles and rules that you installed in us at that time, even in today's world. So, grew up a Razorback fan. I grew into it. So, it's mom and dad both went to school. That's where they met, at the University of Arkansas, and all four of my older siblings are UA grads, and pretty much everyone in my family tree are UA grads. So it was pretty much no decision about where I was going to go. And so fandom was installed into me on all aspects of it. And so, man, it bleeds a bright red, if you will. So, man, it's just been, all through childhood, through high school life, and then was deeper rooted into college. And now we're in a new space as I'm teaching fandom to my soon 2-year-old son. So it's a different perspective.
Heck yeah. And just kind of talk about coming up in your heyday, just kind of some of your fonder memories of being a Razorback fan, or some of the not so fond memories, some of the worst memories.
Sure. You could go ahead. This could be an entire segment in itself, as far as the good and the bad. But really, I think I am extremely grateful and beneficial as far as the football perspective, growing up into it. So I am a McFadden, Jones, Hillis kid. As far as
You were
those
just a
were
pup. You were just a pup when those boys were coming
right.
through.
So yeah, that was I was 10.
04, 05, yeah.
Right. So I was, at that time of the 04, 05, 06, 07
Mhm.
teams. So that was what I refer to as, the standard, if you will. So there's very faint memories of the Tony Bua teams. Matt Jones was probably my first idol, if you will.
Mhm.
So that's pretty much where it started, right? So it was the early Matt Jones days going into the McFadden years, and then I think everyone should pick up on their memory then. Basketball early on, not so great. So, that was Stan Heath, it was John
Mhm.
Pelfrey. So not the greatest basketball memories. And then baseball, Dave's. Well, I've been with Dave ever since I can remember. So
Yeah.
got to
Yeah.
see Bum Walker be expanded. I remember whenever it was still the dirt on the bases. So I'm
Mhm.
able to at least have that memory. But bad memories just off the cuff. It'd be the fish fumble in the SEC championship. That's
Yeah.
just one that just
That's
uh,
crazy you remember
folks.
that. Yeah.
Right. You brought that up the other day when we were talking, so that's one that just sticks
Yeah.
out. But probably my favorite, it would easily be 2007 LSU triple overtime. That's just one that will
So
that will never.
you were in college at the U of A. Was Chad, were you there for the Chad Morris years? Is that when
So
you were in
that
college?
that would have
Or
been going into senior year.
yeah,
So
okay.
that was senior year of Chad Moore. So yeah, I've reached the lowest of lows, and
Yeah.
um, the pinnacle has. It seems like I keep looking back at of my
Yeah.
pinnacle moments.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate you hopping on with us, brother. You're just the first person that came to mind whenever we needed a guest host tonight. So I'll be anxious to get kind of your takes on some of these topics. And I think the audience will really enjoy it. So we'll start with obviously Saturday. We're in basketball mode here on the podcast. A lot of pods still start with a transfer portal, and I'm like, no, 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 no. We start with basketball on the Never Yield pod. It's basketball season. I'm still a firm believer that we're a basketball school. This state loves basketball. Um, Not so much on this past Saturday though. Hogs went down to Auburn and took an absolute spanking 95-73 at the hands of the Auburn Tigers. Um, for those of you that listened to the pod last week, my parting words where I don't feel good about this game. Auburn 0-2. They're hungry. They're desperate. They don't want to go 0-3 in the league, obviously. I knew we would be in for a really, really tough game, a tough atmosphere, but never in my wildest dreams did I think a roster with the talent of what this current roster has would walk in any gym, in any situation, and just get belt to ass handed to them from the tip off. That was frustrating to me. I'm not frustrated we got beat. We're not going to go 18-0 in the league. I understand that. But I thought the effort was very, very, very poor. We did nothing to match the energy of Auburn, and a lot of times, Rod, you've been there. You get punched in the mouth early on the road, tough environment. You may get down 8-2 or 10-4, but most teams find a way to claw back, and they match that energy level. And there was just no fight from the Hogs. It was really frustrating. I'm not going to dig a ton into the X's and O's like I usually do, just because it was kind of got like it was during football season. X's and O's didn't matter in that game. In my opinion, it was an effort thing, and it was a continued lack of the offense did not play well, obviously, but the defense was once again, and that's been a common theme with this team is defensively. I think offensively we have a Final Four level roster. Defensively, though, I'm very concerned. I don't think we have a good enough defense right now to make a run, a Final Four level run. Um, but like Coach Cal said, that's one of those you just burn the tape. Um, you don't even watch it. You just flush the whole game. But Final Four teams don't have that game. So what were your thoughts? Obviously, you watch all the games, but what did you see in that game Saturday down in the plains?
Well, I had the pleasure of being in person at Neville Arena this past
Woo!
weekend. So, um,
Jeez.
Coach, you said a lot of good things, but there was at least four categories that stood out to me. So it was a great atmosphere. It was a great environment. Everything, from the start. So within whatever league you say, whatever conference you want to dig into, going back to Tuesday night when Texas A&M was at Auburn, and obviously there was, a controversial, last three bet. I was begging and praying that thing was going to go down. I did not want to walk into an 0-2 desperation, gotta have it teams mentality, and that's exactly what happened. They're 0-2, they're desperate. I mean, from the jump, just got punched in the mouth, and Darius had the first bucket of the game, so I thought, okay, maybe, we're 20 seconds into it. But coach, as I look back at some of the stats, there was, we got outscored in the paint 20 points. They outshot us 57-43 in the field goal percentage. And from there, all of the stats were pretty much similar. I was like, surely, they had at least, 6, 7, 8 more threes than us. No, they only had two. Free throw percentages were the same. They only shot two more free throws than us, and we had one more turnover. And
Mm,
outside of that, I was like, it just couldn't make sense to me. And then we got out rebounded 9. So that was our three categories: is getting outscored 20 in the paint, out rebounded 9, and then our field goal percentage was just abysmal. And then you have to think, towards the last 2 minutes, the third string coming in, so that's a little skewed. So
yeah.
um, it was burning early timeouts from Cal. It was just you could kind of see we just walked out flat-footed. So all in all, you're just going to have to burn the tape, as Cal says, and move on. Going to Wednesday, you'll see if this team is sleepwalking and hungover within the first 2 minutes of the game. You're going to find out real quick. But defensively, the effort was just not apparent, and that's concerning moving forward.
So talk about being there. I've heard a lot about Neville. It's, you know, it's one of the best people say it's one of the best atmospheres of college basketball. I know it's really small, like 9 or 10,000, like half of Bud Walton. But every time I watch a game on TV, especially a big game, you know, Bruce Pearl obviously has had some really big games down there. They've been ranked number one in the country before he retired, and so there was a lot of marquee matchups down there. Talk about that atmosphere, kind of how it. I mean, it's so different than Bud. I don't even know if you could
Sure.
compare them, but I mean, were they friendly? You know, was there any other Razorback fans? Were they loud? Kind of just talk about the whole setup.
It gave me a new perspective. When I saw, the capacity, it made me think a little bit, and I was trying to think like, is that a privilege for us that we're doubling the size of that? But it also made me think like, we struggle, with a Tuesday night conference game. I mean, we'll
Mhm.
find out on Wednesday who's going to be there and who's not, and it's just it almost takes like a Saturday marquee matchup for Bud to be at capacity. I mean, this granted it was a Saturday night
Yeah,
conference game, so it gave me that perspective of like, okay, they're pretty much able to fill this cat out on any given night,
every game.
regardless of who it is. So that was intriguing, but it's almost like you don't want to downgrade your house just because
Yeah.
of certain capacity. But um, friendly fans, I think outside of any other hog presence was just behind our bench. So it was. Um, I've been there for football games. The folks are nice, so we're able to
I've
get
heard
along.
Auburn fans are always really, really complimentary and not, you know, cussing you the whole time, and, uh, I've heard that from several people, so,
I
um
think a good ranking later when we start to get to the dog days of the summer is start to ranking other SEC fan bases. But
oh,
no,
for sure, that
they've always I have good experience, friends within that fan base, and so being down 20, I wasn't doing much talking, so I was pretty quiet and
right,
tucked my tail
yeah.
in and moved on.
Um, the frustrating thing for me was it almost felt like everybody in the world knew that what the energy level and the effort you were gonna get from Auburn was and the sense of urgency, except for the 12 guys wearing Razorback red that day. Like, anybody with a brain, and I don't listen to a ton of other pods or shows or whatever, but, you know, the stuff that I'd read on Twitter and a couple other people that I do pay attention to, like, we were all saying the same thing, like, "This team is gonna be hungry. You better match their intensity." So it's like almost everybody knew it except for the 5 guys in red. That's what's frustrating. Um, obviously, you know, Keyshawn Hall for Auburn, he's a really good player. He's averaging 21 a game, which is more than Darius Acuff. So think about how good Acuff is offensively, and Keyshawn Hall is averaging more points per game than Acuff. Um, but, you know, you're thinking, all right, how can you limit Keyshawn Hall? He's your best player. He's your leading scorer. Well, we limit him into a smooth 32 points, you know, 11 over his average on 11 of 14 shooting. I mean, that's unbelievable. I mean, he just owned us at every level, driving it from 3. And, like, once again, you're gonna get beat some, but what are you taking away from the other team, and what are you making them do to make adjustments to beat you? You know, if you take the other team's best player out and hold them to 13, hold them 8 under his average, and if Auburn beats you, then you're like, okay, at least we executed our defensive game plan. They just were better than
Right,
us today. But that was
right.
not what this was, and it was really frustrating. I'm not gonna harp on it too much. I'm gonna flush it like Cal said, but there's red flags that I mean, does a Kelvin Sampson Houston team ever walk into something like this and get beat 30? I mean, does a you know, just name your whatever, like, it doesn't happen, and that's what's concerning. There was just a lack of competitiveness, effort, attention to detail, focus, urgency, and you just feel like real championship teams don't have that game.
It provided, a different outlook as far as the league goes. I mean, when you look at the past couple of years of what Arkansas basketball, even with Muss, and I'm going to say last year is going to have an asterisk with Cal's, first year and getting things going, but it's like we've always started 0-3 in conference play, and so
Oh
finally,
yeah,
it's okay, we're 2-0. We finally have some momentum. There is a positive from this, and I'll get to that in a second. But it's also like, in Auburn's perspective, it's like, man, they haven't played a slouch of a non-conference. I just looked. I mean, it's Michigan, it's Gonzaga, they also played that same Houston team, lost by
hmm
one. So, the record didn't really reflect
they're
kind of who
better than their
they are.
record. Yeah,
Their
yeah,
record's better. And on top of that, it's just like, okay, so Texas A&M's 3-0, but they also just went on the road and handled them pretty well. I mean, Auburn was up 17 and they just come back. And of course, it took a fingertip, a little bit of grace to get that win. But I'm concerned slightly, not too much right now, as far as how much weight conference losses are going to impact a resume when we look ahead to March. Because you have a 7-10, conference record, you're just like, that's still, you're fine, right?
yeah,
And we have a
yeah,
great non-conference resume, but moving forward, it's like this team's not perfect. So are those losses to, say, a Mizzou on the road or whoever else? It's just like, is that going to impact the resume
yeah.
moving forward?
Yeah, and it just depends on what those teams do. I mean, losing at Auburn is a quad one loss, and so if you're looking at, the quads and the net rankings and all that. But I mean, yeah, last year, which was a just a anomaly for the SEC, but Oklahoma got into the tournament last year. I think they were 6-12 in the SEC, and they
Yeah.
got into the tournament. And so, even a 7-11 team or a 9-9 for sure, 8-10 will get you in. But yeah, I think Auburn is a little bit better than their record. They've had some tough losses, and credit to them. And it just shows you it is hard to go into a team that's 0-2 and win. There were several examples in the SEC this weekend of that happening. Missouri was 2-0. Ole Miss was 0-2. Ole Miss wins the game. Kentucky was 0-2. Mississippi State was 2-0. Kentucky won the game. So these teams that are 0-2, Texas was 0-2, and I know Alabama was only 1-1, but Alabama is obviously ranked and really good. But Texas was 0-2, and they went in and won the game. So, I think there's something to be said about being 0-2 and being desperate and trying to match that energy level. And it's hard to do, but championship teams are built different. I mean, it's the bottom line. So, looking at the SEC standings here, Rob, I had a bunch of questions about Vandy before their Alabama game. I was calling fraud alert on Vandy, and then they beat Alabama. Um, Now they're 3-0 in the league. They're ranked number 10 in the AP poll that came out today, and so Vandy's sitting atop 3-0 with Texas A&M. Now, I don't think Texas A&M is the second best team in the league. I do think Vandy's a force to be reckoned with, but Missouri, Florida, Georgia, Arkansas, and Mississippi State all sit at 2-1 in the SEC. Obviously, it's still really tight right now, only 3 games in. Tennessee, Texas, Bama, OU, Auburn, Kentucky, and South Carolina at 1-2, and Ole Miss. And then LSU is sitting at 0-3 all by themselves. Just early thoughts of how you've seen the SEC play out, Rob. Um, Obviously, like I said, Vandy looks to be pretty dang good. I still want to see them get through the gauntlet. I know they got Florida coming up, I think Wednesday. Um, but what are your thoughts on how the standings are shaking out so far?
Well, still a lot of ball to be played, but as far as your Vandy example, I was kind of pressing just because some of the first were a little ways off from Selection Sunday, but seeing them with a 2 seed, I'm thinking to myself, where are we? Like, uh,
Yeah,
from an Arkansas fan perspective, you're like, how can they have the football seasons that they've had and success, and then just roll into basketball on 2 wheels, and they're ranked 10. So their guard play is really good. I think once their test is going to be on Tuesday, going to Knoxville, so we'll see really quickly, and then Tennessee
okay.
with an embarrassing loss. So that's a game that I have circled. to look to favor Tennessee. But Texas A&M as well. Not to say that they haven't played bad. It's just you need to get some more on the road type conference games, and home court has really been pressing. And it didn't work out for Alabama, but still the 0-2 example. So home floor has been really key in the league, and everyone has taken advantage of that as well. So you, it's tough moving into. We'll talk about Wednesday night's game, but Saturday as well, we'll look to have a challenge. So, um, I just for the sake of if we were to drop a game, you at least want to keep those Q1 losses
Yeah,
golden, and then Q2 at worst. So,
yeah,
keep that Q1. So, hey, the fact that we only dropped to 17
yeah. Two
really tells me that
spots.
they took noticed. They really
Yeah,
took notice, and we got the brakes beat off of us.
yeah, yeah. I was very surprised we only dropped 2 spots because we could say what we want. We know every fan base is crazy, but usually the Hogs get no respect, no matter how good we are. Um, Even if we make one little mistake, we usually drop it out of the poll. It's not fair. But yeah, I think there was a high level of respect from the voters to only drop us 2 spots after getting beat 30 pieced in Auburn. Bounce back spot. We got the South Carolina Gamecocks coming to town to Bud Walton Wednesday night at 8 p.m. Got the late game. You hope the crowd, I don't know if we can get 16, 17,000 in there. I think that'd be a good crowd for a not a great opponent coming in on a Wednesday night at 8. Just a little bit on South Carolina. They were awful last year. I think they started off like 0-10, 0-11 in the league until Arkansas went to South Carolina and got some where they got their first win. Once again, got beat by 30 something, I feel like. But they're better this year. They've already pulled out a conference win at LSU. I think they were up 20 or 25 at halftime. Only ended up winning by 10 or so, but had a big lead. They played Vandy to 12. Um, and then lost to Georgia by 5. Georgia's ranked number 18. And so, I think the South Carolina team is much improved. I'm hoping, if anything, this game with Arkansas Saturday just kind of reminded them that, hey, you're not invincible. You got to show up every game with very, very high sense of urgency, execute the game plan, play with great effort, play together, do what you've been doing. You can't just roll the ball out and beat people. You're just not that good. And I haven't seen a line yet, but I would. It's going to be a tough SEC game. Anybody thinks we're going to? I say that. Anybody thinks we're going to go in 20, 30 piece these guys is crazy. They've got 2 close losses to 2 top 20 teams in Georgia and Vandy. So they're going to have to play well. The Hogs are going to have to play physical, get back on track, need a good crowd. I'll be very, very, very disappointed and surprised if the Hogs don't pull out a win on Wednesday night in Bud.
If I had to guess, I would say somewhere in the neighborhood of 6.5 to 8.5.
I'm
Yeah,
pulling it
that's
up
one thing
right
that
now. So
it's been really surprising as far as Vegas's outlook on some of the just because we pay attention really to the league, and so um, even on Tuesday as A&M goes to Tennessee, that's 9.5, and so we're not getting a lot of just close 1.5 to 3 spreads. I mean they're stretching it out.
yeah, let's see. That's the bad part about not having DraftKings or FanDuel in Arkansas is that'd be easy to pull up on something like that. But
But
yeah,
to your point is eh, it's there's some benefit to having games like that. You'd like to not have 20. I mean, if anything, you'd like to look at what happened between Michigan and Wisconsin on Saturday. I mean, Michigan dropped a home
uh
game to Wisconsin, so they're not invincible. I mean, I argue that they're a Final Four team as well and likely to win the national championship. But it's good to get punched in the nose and be brought back to earth. And so, um, like I said, I mean, we're going to know within the first 2 possessions on Wednesday night what happened on Saturday.
yeah, I agree. I think and there's people making excuses about just the travel and, you know, obviously, I think they may have some trouble getting into Auburn with some weather and, you know, getting out of Ole Miss. No, yeah, that was the travel trouble, was getting out of Ole Miss. They had to detour and stuff. Only had 1 day of practice, but I mean, yeah, if you wanna make an excuse, and then you can go find an excuse. That's not hard to do. Um, anyways, hopefully the Hogs can bounce back, and like I said, I'll be very disappointed if they don't. Um, I need to see a couple guys start playing a little better. I'm a big DJ Wagner fan, but DJ has not been really since SEC play. I don't think he scored more than 3 or 4 points in a game the first three SEC games. We need DJ to get back on track. Um, I mean, I know his roles changed a little bit with Darius, obviously, but he's kind of playing well early in the year. So, but DJ needs to get back on track. Obviously, Billy didn't play great down in Auburn. I think Billy only had 1 rebound. I mean, that's not Billy Richmond. Um, so just these guys need to get back in the flow, need to get back in the groove, owning their role, playing really well. See these role players step up, and to nobody's surprise, before we move on, Darius Acuff won his fifth freshman SEC Freshman of the Week award. I believe that's the first time in SEC history, maybe, or I think that's what I saw. But yeah, 5 SEC Freshman of the Week awards in a row. And I think Darius would be the first one to tell you, even though he had 19 at Auburn, he did not play a good game. Um, what do you think? Talk about Darius Acuff. What do you think? You know, I think he's a generational player, Rob. I think you know, you need to. I told everybody, you just need to sit back and enjoy it. Um, don't take it for granted. I know Cal's going to bring in more 5 stars and stuff, but you know, I think Darius is one of those guys that you may arguably only see once every 10, 15, 20 years. Kind of what are your thoughts on how he's gotten off to a good start? And I'm assuming he's exceeded your expectations.
It's hard to put a comparison. The one that jumps out to me is kind of a blend of JD Note and Moses Moody. In a
Hmm.
sense, that's kind of what I'm making sense of, but this is one guy, not two. Really just like his poise and composure. I think it was really after the Michigan State loss where it just brought everybody as a group, but specifically to him on his gameplay of just it doesn't matter what is happening. This guy's facial expressions like it's like you can't coach
Stone
that.
cold, baby. Stone cold.
You can't coach that, and it's now gotten to the point now. I mean, the expectation as a spectator, as a fan, is unrealistic. Where every time he touches the ball, I'm just like, all right, just go and put it underneath the net. And so,
Yeah.
it's gotten to that level. But man, he acts like he's been playing ball, high end college basketball for 4 years, and so really just the centerpiece of the offense. Likely, you don't want that to be too dependable later in the season, just because coaches, I've heard you tell me many, many times. I mean, the ball ain't going to bounce your way every single time. I mean, this game is extremely humbling, and so, like you mentioned with DJ, you're going to have guys like that be supplemental. And I'm not going to put a Boogie Fland argument into it, but DJ Wagner has enough maturity and understanding of his role to be a key piece within this organization, within the structure of this team. But ideally, you'd like for him to at least be an 8-8 guy or a 10-8 guy at least. That's
Hmm.
that's with free throws, that's with putback, that's with a casual open three, which he did hit a three at Auburn. So I was like, okay, maybe this is the game he's going to get going. So
Yeah.
um, Cal has a quick hook, and I think you as a coach respect that. I like that because any type of bad body language, you're not hustling for a rebound. I mean, he just points at the bench, and it's just a quick
Yeah.
hook. So I'd like for that to kind of be settled just as the chemistry goes, like on the court. But I think they're going to get it figured out. But
You
to
can,
your original point,
Rob, you
um,
know this. I mean, you can, as a coach, obviously, me doing it for 14 years, you can rip kids all you want and chew them and yell at them, but nothing gets their attention better than sitting their butt on that bench and making them watch from the bench. So better than any kind of screaming, any kind of yelling, any kind of running sprints after the game. next day in practice, you want to send a message, you just come over here and have a seat by me, buddy. You can just watch over here. And so Cal definitely, I love that about Cal. He's very quick to, if you're not, doing what he wants you to do, no matter who you are. I've seen him pull out a cuff many times. If you're not playing, with the right effort level and doing what he wants you to do, he'll just pull you out. You come sit down and watch. So the bench is a coach's best friend for sure. All right, Rob, let's move on to some football news. As we are winding down in the transfer portal, it's been a crazy 7-8 days. I think the portal closes on January the 16th, so that's approaching pretty quick here in a few days. Um, First of all, just talk about kind of your thoughts on Ron Silverfield, your thoughts when he was hired, happy, not happy, and then kind of as he started flipping some in-state guys and put a staff together and started working in the portal, kind of where's your mindset with Silverfield wavered one way or the other?
Sure. Well, to start off, I wasn't in his camp of full support. That's full honesty and transparency, and it took probably seeing some other comments and seeing some other takes where I had to take a step back and be like, okay, like this guy has a family, he has children, he's human, just like me and you, and it was at that point, probably a couple days after, where I'm just like, I felt personally ashamed and I was embarrassed by some of my comments and thoughts of just kind of an outlash. And it was just completely unjustified and unfair to the guy. And did I have expectations of like a James Franklin? But even to the part where it went to the Alex Gullish news, I was still like, okay, I mean, okay, like it was just not like I'm overjoyed with excitement over the Alex Gullish news. So once it went from Gullish to the confirmation of Silverfield, I was a little surprised as far as they kind of already had that in the works, uh, based off of what we were hearing from additional media outlets. So take that with a grain of salt. Um, from his first day on campus, and on top of that, the man wanted to be here, and I think that had more importance and pride than anything else. Just because what we are looking for, and I'll speak for everybody, is we just want structure and stability. And that's not what we've had since 2011, spring of 12. Okay. And that's been troubling. And I'll give Bielema some credit, but moving forward, it's just been broken. And so from his first day and first week to be able to get some key flips, regardless if it's in state, but it means something that it's in state. You started to win guys like me, be like, okay, like this guy deserves a legitimate chance. And hey, I'm going to take a step back. I'm going to close my mouth and see how this unfolds. And so I think, outside of, you know, the season's still going, we have the national championship going, but outside of just some, you know, crazy budget of 4 and 5 star transfer portals, I think that's a little unrealistic. But for what he has had and the ability, I think it's been an excellent offseason, and it's already January 12th. So
Yeah.
that's just been my assessment.
Yeah, he's most certainly exceeded my expectations. Everybody that listens to the pod know I was very critical of the hire. But he's on three has us as a number. I think, let's see here, where are we at? We're ranked number 9 in the whole country in the transfer team rankings of on three. And let's not forget, this was a 2-10 team. And you're telling me you have the number 9 portal class coming in, as of right now, ahead of Oregon, ahead of, teams like Virginia, who almost went to the playoffs, Wisconsin, Oklahoma, Notre Dame, Texas. And so, yeah, I think he's done a great job. I think just since our last pod, I'll kind of go over who he's added to the roster. Um, He's added in last pod. I talked about how we needed to see some more wide receiver ads. He's added Donovan Foppel out of New Mexico State. I think he had 700 receiving yards, 7-8 touchdowns. Chris Marshall out of Boise State. We'll talk about that one in a minute. And then Jelani Watkins, receiver out of LSU. I'm not even sure he caught a pass, but he's a track guy. He's like 5'9", 170 pounds. I see him being like a special teams kick returner, maybe a slot receiver guy. Um, I'm not sure how familiar you are with this Chris Marshall kid. He was a 5-star coming out of high school,
Hmm.
uh, committed to Texas A&M. His freshman year, he had 11 catches. True freshman. Sophomore year, he got some trouble. I think he got arrested. Uh, Transferred to Boise State. This past year, Boise State had 30 catches, 574 yards, a couple tutties. Um, and, you know, it sounds like if you get his attitude right, he's a potential wide receiver one in the SEC for us.
Right. Right. No,
Uh,
just some familiarity with props, and watching some early Mountain West football. So I mean, this kid has talent. It's just, you know, it's just going to go back to culture. So keeping this guy in check and in the locker room as well.
yeah. Um, Obviously, they added Terrence Robertson from Washita Baptist. That's been a huge story in the state. The offensive line. Um, didn't even play football till I think his senior year of high school at Warren. Got a got an offer to go play at Washita, and then all of a sudden, I mean, it's not like anybody knew about this kid 2 weeks ago, but all of a sudden, somebody started watching some film or something, and next thing you know, he's got offers from Tennessee, LSU, Arkansas, Vandy, Florida. Um, but he wanted to stay home, and I think that was a big get to shore up. You know, you never know if a kid's ready to go from Division II to SEC football, but I like taking a chance on a guy. They saw something. It's a good story from Washita Baptist to the University of Arkansas.
Well, if you want to take that same principle with lumberjack receivers, I think if we could just establish that type into our offensive line, so I'm willing to roll the dice. So Bo
Dang
Henry
right.
is doing something right.
Anybody that come out of Warren, we might as well just sign them all, sign them all. They've added Ben Bogle at linebacker since our last pod. He's a West Virginia transfer. I don't think he played a ton of minutes, or a ton of reps, but just added depth to the linebacker room. Um, and then I guess in other news, Courtney Crutchfield re-signed. You know, I I don't like giving up on 4 stars. I still think Crutchfield may have something in there to be an SEC receiver. For whatever reason, he didn't get a ton of run last year, but but yeah, I've been pretty pleased with this. I was pleased with him flipping those 4 or 5 freshmen right when he got here. I think he's put together a pretty good staff, a bunch of SEC experience on the defensive side of the ball. Got off to a slow start in the portal, and everybody started questioning all those comments about, well, you'll see how much money we have when the portal opens up, and blah 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 blah. And now I think he's kind of backed up his words. So now we'll find out if he can coach football or not. I think he can recruit. Now let's see if he can get in there and coach some football.
Right. And I think when you have a turnover, one of the first things that you're concerned about is, your roster is about to look like a desert, right? I mean, it's
Yeah.
about to get picked over. It's about to like, how can you restart? I mean, look at what Iowa State's going through. And so that could be
Mhm.
us, regardless if they've had, recent success. But, as far as just establishing not just depth, not just people to put on jerseys, but actual talent on paper, it's huge and it's critical moving forward. So if you're able to check that box, and then on top of that, having the retention is also big. I mean, not just for the fact of, oh, we lost a guy. It's like, okay, we're not a triple A team for the rest of the league. Like that's gotta stop. And that really displays and reflects on culture. Now it's like, okay, like, can this guy can be in game situations? Does he have his roster in check? And then everything from there is, personnel. So
Yeah.
it's nice to have those already in check, 7 months before the actual game starts.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I'll be excited for spring practice, see how this quarterback competition shapes up, and I'm always ready for football, even though I act like I'm not sometimes whenever August rolls around. Every year when we get to Omaha or the super regionals, I'm like, God, now we gotta watch this sucky football team. But once August rolls around, I'm like all in, like, let's go, it's football season. So I'm sure it'll be the same this year. We'll get heartbroken in Omaha, and I'll be like, God, now we gotta wait for football. Can we just go straight to basketball? But once August rolls around, I'll be ready for some football.
No,
So
no discredit to any Sam slander, but to your point, I mean, it was another just heart-shattering type defeat in baseball, and all of Arkansas social media was like, "Don't worry, guys, like this is what we have to look forward to." And so, I mean,
and they nailed it. They
they
nailed it.
knew, they knew in June.
Yeah. A little bit of local news. Most people remember the name Casey Dick. He was a Razorback quarterback back in the Houston Dale Nut era, back when DMAC and that era you were talking about. Uh, Casey Dick is now the head football coach at Fayetteville High, uh, and he had a little controversy this week. So most people already know about this, but we're gonna talk about it anyway. Hank Hendricks, he is a quarterback at Fayetteville High. I think he's a top 8 or 9 quarterback in his class. He's a 4-star recruit right now, right on the edge of being a 5-star. Has a lot of offers. Had a very impressive career so far. I guess somehow or another, Hank Hendricks reclassified into this class and is gonna, after this May when high school gets out, he's going to be a Razorback. Apparently this caught Casey Dick off guard. Um, and I understand Casey's frustration to a point. But Casey got on Twitter and pretty much scolded Ron Silverfield and the University of Arkansas and just talked about being professional or lack thereof, and that Ryan Silverfield and the University of Arkansas will never be welcomed back on the Fayetteville High School campus. Obviously, that tweet was pretty quickly deleted. Um, I know Casey, if he obviously got caught up in the moment with his emotions, if he could have that back, he would not post that. Um, but and nevertheless, he has come out with a second tweet. Some would call it an apology. Some would just say kind of toeing the line of backtracking a little bit, but still holding on his stance. Um, the bottom line is it's a bad look for the state. It's a bad look for Fayetteville. It's a bad look for the U of A in a way. The fact that Fayetteville High School's football field is a driver and a pitching wedge away from the University of Arkansas's football field. And we have this public beef. These two schools need to work together and support one another. Um, I'm not saying I don't know the whole story. Obviously, Casey thinks Ryan, manipulated the kid into reclassifying and kind of did it behind Casey's back and whatever. But nevertheless, it's bad press. It's ugly press. It's like I said, it's not good for the state. It's not good for the high school college relationship. Um, I'm assuming you've heard about this, seen about this. Any thoughts about this?
A little bit surprised. Casey's like I said. I mean, I'm not in the room. I'm not in any form of negotiations. All I can do is based off of what was publicly stated from him and a little bit of context as far as anyone involved from the university side. So I was a little disappointed that he made that comment. I can only speak as alum myself. It's just it would have to be something detrimental for me to just outlash, my university. And Casey was, like I said, he's not going to be in the Hall of Fame tomorrow, but it's still we have some fond memories of him, and that could be a separate discussion. So I think you brought up a bigger point is the relationship and our avenues to our in-state. Like we mentioned with Warren, is you want that to be solid, especially within the Northwest Arkansas Circle, and especially with uh, the city in which the university is located. If you go back a couple years, you know, you remember Barrett Bannister, who was a receiver, wasn't overly recruited for out of Fayetteville High School, and it was just boom, Mizzou. And it's just like, okay. And then, he goes to have, some always had his best game of the season against us. And
Every
so,
time.
I mean, never failed. And so that's kind of where, from a fan perspective, an alumni perspective, it's just you want to be selective as far as regarding our talent, but always with relationships. I mean, from if I'm Ryan Silverfield, I'm trying to be on uh, Arkansas as my back pocket. I mean, of course, we're going to have to, go to Texas and Florida and recruit elsewhere, but if you can't protect home turf, then it's going to make it really, really hard recruiting elsewhere. So overall, a little bit disappointed with the comments, but like I said, I mean, Casey's human. I would like to say give him the benefit of the doubt that it was a little, you know, spur of the moment. He wanted to have that back, but hopefully that everyone can work together. And it's just a bad look. It was
Yeah.
just a bad look. If I'm in a conference, I'm just like, these guys can't do anything right.
Mhm. For sure, and I think, they're gonna get in a room and talk about it, and, it's just like I said, I understand Casey's frustration, but I also understand where the kid's coming from. The kid's dad is a football guy, he's on staff as an analyst for the Hogs, and so he knows football and, I mean, just don't do it in social media. I mean, handle it man to man, face to face, over the phone, something. Um Quickly, as we wrap up the pod, we're going to go around the country a little bit. NFL playoffs first round is wrapped up over the weekend. As we are filming this live on Monday night, the Steelers and the Texans are now in a just a barn burner, as the Texans are up 7-6 with a minute and a half left in the third. Um, Rob, our audience knows that I don't have my favorite NFL team is a team that I am betting on every Sunday, whoever that may or may not be. Um, Give us a quick rundown if you have an NFL allegiance and kind of your reaction to the first round of the playoffs.
Well, I mean, I guess I should be hesitant just because, anyone listening is just like, all right, well, he's got Arkansas Legion, so surely you can't follow up with anything worse. So the Cowboys are unfortunately my allegiance, and I credit my fandom as a young kid. I did love the Peyton Manning days, but really just more of a fan of him. But Jerry Jones's alumni status to the university was, I believe, the direction I was given at that young fandom, and I've stuck with them ever since. So we don't have to be too far
They
too
are
far
they are
separate.
not in the playoffs this weekend. Correct.
And the fact that I've been able to watch an incredible slate of NFL playoffs has been just completely stress free, and I've enjoyed
That's
every bit
right.
of it. But
That's
to
right.
to the credit of the Steelers, the Texans aren't in the division, but this is an NFC North style game as it gets. So it's been a great playoff start so far.
Yeah, it has been good. The Bills went down to Jacksonville and beat the Jags 27-24. The Jags were the 3 seed, the Bills were the 6. Man, Josh Allen, I know he's had some bad interceptions in his time, and he's had a couple opportunities to get to the Super Bowl and hasn't got there, but he played really, really well to go down there and get the win. I had Cam Little miss a 54-yarder, I think, and
Mhm.
obviously, losing by 3, missing a field goal in the first half. It'd be nice to have those 3 points, but um, hate that for Cam. The Patriots beat the Chargers 16-3. Once again, another offensive barn burner. Pats moving on. They'll play the winner of this Steelers and Texans game. The Rams beat the Panthers 34-31. Matthew Stafford at the ripe age of, Lord, I don't know how old he is or how young, but
37, I think.
yeah, he's looking like a 27-year-old out there, probably the MVP. 49ers going to be Andrews Eagles 23-19 in Philly. The Eagles just looked out of sync for a long time this year. Don't really have an explanation for it.
Really
And
have an
then the
identity.
Bears, and then the Bears in an absolute just just a amazing football game to watch. In Chicago, take care of their biggest rival, the Green Bay Packers, 31-27. So a bunch of 3 4 point games. Lord, let's see. Bears was a 4 point game. 49ers was a 4 point game. Rams was a 3 point game. Bills was a 3 point game. We got a 1 point game right now going into the fourth quarter. So really, really, really good football. Give me a quick prediction. Give me who's going to make the Super Bowl and who's going to win the Super Bowl.
Well, I'm glad that this was not recorded before all of this, just because I would have given you, from Cowboys fandom, I'm always going to have the Eagles win in the NFC. So I'm glad that that's not the case. And it's been great, and we haven't seen that typical wild card blowout round. I guess it was the Chargers and Patriots, and if it's only two touchdowns, we'll take it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, I know it's not current. The Texans were actually a dark horse for me in the AFC. I love their defense, their personnel, their offense can be stagnant at times. I'm actually going to go Bills with the AFC. I think this is the first time. Yes, you can bring up no Mahomes, there's no Lamar, there's no Burrow, but this is kind of the first time that there's not been much applied pressure to Josh Allen. It feels like as far as the narrative goes for the AFC, and so I've got Buffalo out of the AFC. NFC is tough, just because like you could have two six seeds, like one with like a San Francisco that's still San Francisco's very good. They've been injury riddled all year. Um, I'm still gonna lean with the Rams, so it's gonna be a Rams Bills Super Bowl
All right.
prediction for me.
I like it. I like it. Yeah, get in there and see a couple different teams. It's not nice not seeing the Chiefs. I never thought I'd see the day where they're not only making a run at the Super Bowl, but not even in the playoffs. So it's nice not seeing them. And then the Eagles have been pretty dominant in the NFC. So get somebody different in there. Speaking of different, no Ohio State, no Georgia, no Alabama and the college football national championship game. We also get to see some different teams. Um, my goodness, did what Indiana did to Oregon on Friday night was just I couldn't believe. I mean, I did, I know it's like bandwagon or whatever, but I love everything about Kurt Signetti, everything about Indiana. I love the way he runs his program. I love the story of them being the second losingest football program in the history of football. I don't see how anybody in the country cannot be an Indiana Hoosier fan next Monday night for the national championship game, outside of Miami fans, obviously. Um, thoughts, Miami, Indiana, um, I think Indiana, I would do anything to see Indiana play 2019 LSU and Joe Burrow. I think Indiana's that good. Uh, but a lot of times the fairy tale story doesn't always end how it should. So, what have you seen from the college football playoff? And give us a national championship prediction, Rob.
Well, it's nice to see parity finally. And it could be a complete different segment on how we finally got parity, but at least it's apparent. And I'll take another step to the side where it hurts a little bit seeing their past struggles, as we know very well who has been in that camp, currently in that camp. And you see those red and white colors, and you're just like, man, just
Could be us.
please let that please let that be us one day. So
Yeah.
it's one of the greatest comebacks, and for us to be able to experience it is incredible. I mean, they're really just mistake free, and I'm not
Mhm.
gonna speak anything into them, but I believe they've only fumbled the ball one time this year. Some
First
crazy
game of the year. First game of the season.
coach. We fumble every possession. It's like every series. It's just like please,
Yeah.
like, can we just hang on to the football? And so,
Yeah.
I mean, it's just credit to the really it's their discipline, and then where does discipline come
Mhm.
from? It comes back to coaching, it comes back to culture. So, um, if they were to have had a speed bump in this magical season, it was at Penn State, and I thought it was going to be with Oregon. I thought the Oregon game was going to be a little bit closer. I thought that's kind of where that would have been their hiccup, but the fact that they were able to do it by that big a margin, I like Indiana. Are we still sitting at 7.5?
7.5. Yep. Yep.
That's that's a little tough. It's probably a stay away spot for me. I mean, if you're able to find some angle on the total, I'd probably take Indiana down. But it's man, I like Indiana by about 4.
Yep. I want Indiana to win very bad, but I hope it's a really good game. I don't wanna see another 28 point, blowout in the Natty. Um, Yeah, it's just been magical what Signetti's been able to do. And Rob, I mean, I've said this the whole time ever since we started this podcast, but you see what Indiana's doing and how bad they were 4 years ago, and you see what Ole Miss has done, and you see what Arizona State went to the college football playoff last year, and it just shows you that you hire the right guy, you support him financially and NIL, and it can happen anywhere. Vanderbilt, look what Vanderbilt's been able to do. You hire the right coach, and as frustrating as it's been in this era of football, it just feels like, man, if Vandy can do it, if Indiana can do it, if Ole Miss can do it, Arkansas can do it. I mean, it can happen at Arkansas.
Would you agree that this is, and I'm only talking about just the current landscape of college football as we know it now. And I'm not, sure if it expands another time, then I would say raise a percentage of possibility. But it wasn't until the we were in the BCS at 2011 where it's just like, okay, we beat LSU this weekend, and
Mhm.
it's possible. And for
Yeah.
that was a thought. That was an actual thought. Uh, crazy to think that that was an actual possibility, but it's been since that time of November of 11 to where, like you just brought up, where it's just like the Indianas of the world, Arizona States of the world.
Mm,
And yes, I mean, it hurts just because I think outside of Mississippi State, I'd like to think as we as Arkansas fans have a pure hatred of Ole Miss, and I hate that we're not able to play this year. But that was one thing I was checking off my list. I said once A&M got checked off, Alabama got checked off. I'm like, all right, like once we scratch off Ole Miss on this little run, then I can breathe a little bit
mhm,
easier.
mhm.
Yes, to your point, the word possible is not that far out.
It's not. It's really not, and it's crazy to say after going off a 2-10 season, and I don't know if Ryan Silverfield's a guy or not. We'll find out, but I mean, they didn't know if Kurt Signetti was a guy. I mean, you just never know till you know. So, um, but anyways, that'll wrap us up for another pod. I appreciate everybody listening. I appreciate all the love, support. Um, Rob, I appreciate the last second guest appearance, my man. You
Six
did a
man of the
great
award. That's what I'm looking for. Six man of the year.
six man of the year. That's right. You did a great job as a fill in. Um, Me and Andrew have already talked. We're gonna have some guests on, as the dog days of summer approach, and try to spiffy this thing up when the content's maybe not at its best. So I appreciate you coming on, brother. Appreciate you coming on.
Coach, as always, thank you.
Yeah. Make sure you tell your parents, tell your brothers, tell all your family so they can become subscribers, like and
Well, this
follow.
this would be shared on all platforms, so
That's
that's
right. That's right. Anyways, we will be back on Tuesday. Oh no, Friday. I apologize. Got my days mixed up. We'll be back on Friday. Hopefully Andrew's got his internet fixed. If not, Rob may be back for round two. We'll just wait and see. But anyways, give us a like, a follow, subscribe, tell a friend about us at the Never Yield Pod, and we will see you guys on Friday. Woo pig.